Story 1. When I was 16, I worked at a fast food chain on a small island. Things are usually very quiet here. We'd take no more than 2,000 pounds in a day, 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. There's an event on the island that brings in a huge number of people from abroad, often doubling the island's population for a month. During the 2-week event, we were open until 11 p.m. with 1 hour at the end of each day allocated to cleaning and closing the store, bringing us until 12 and midnight as our finishing time on a closing shift. During the event, there's a lot of people going for takeouts, so we get absolutely swamped. We even have to ship in staff from other stores in the UK to assist more on them later. We'd close the doors at 11 p.m., but there would still be a huge queue of customers, which could easily take 30 minutes to get through, and then all of those customers are allowed to sit indoors until 12 a.m. when we can kick them out, but often we didn't want to pick a fight with drunks, so we let them leave on their own accord. As you can probably imagine, this makes cleaning the store impossible by 12 a.m. The first night we were there until about 1 a.m. The next night, it was closer to 2 a.m. when I asked the area manager about how we were getting paid for these extra hours. He said we don't. We were only to be paid until 12 a.m. as that was our shift on the rota. I said that I don't want to be working 2-3 hours each morning, for nothing, to which he replied, "You stay until everything is cleaned like everybody else. If I find out you leave without properly cleaning everything, we're going to have a problem." I went home, talked to my parents about it, and we made a plan. So on my next shift, it was chaos, busier than I've ever seen it. Queues out the door and halfway up the street. We weren't able to start cleaning until at least 12:30. The place was a mess, and it ended up being about 3:30 before I called my mom to come pick me up. I was wired on energy drinks just to keep awake, and when I got home, I couldn't sleep at all, and I was scheduled for a 9 a.m. start the next, current, morning. I slept for about 2 hours before I had to drag myself out of bed to get ready for work again and operate pressurized fryers filled with approximately 350 degrees Celsius oil. What could go wrong, right? The reason I called her for a lift home was so there was a record of it happening, and I also stood near one of the cameras, so there was a recording with audio on the shop CCTV. The law where I live clearly states that anybody under 18 is required to have at least 8 hours away from the workplace in any 24-hour period. That obviously didn't happen, so they broke the law, and my mom knew this. She called up the area manager to ask him what happened. He basically repeated what he had said to me, and she mentioned to him about the law, and that by informing him of it, it's now 100% his responsibility, and he would be liable for anything that happened during my shift, whether that's property damage, injury, etc. She also said she'd be reporting it to the equivalent of a union. We don't have unions here. He was used to bullying the staff here, as most were teens or young adults who were too scared to stand up to him. But he very quickly changed his attitude now that his neck was on the line. He called the local manager and told him to let me leave work for the day, with full pay, immediately, and as soon as it hit 12 a.m. on the next closing shift. I was again ordered to go home, so no more working without being paid. Once the other staff got wind of this, they followed suit. This had another extra bonus for us, although, which was probably the sweetest part of this. Remember the staff they shipped over? Well, they all got early shifts so they could go out and enjoy the partying that went on, while we were all stuck in work until 3 a.m. They even had the cheek to come in, because they had keys, and have a dig at us about taking so long, which resulted in an argument and one of them crying. Anyway, the cleaning that we weren't able to do then became their problem when they arrived in the morning, which meant they had to either start earlier or work like crazy to get the shop open in time, or they'd face the wrath of the area manager. Screw them and screw the area manager. Story 2. Background. This happened a week before school. I live in the city of Prague, Czech Republic. I am 15 years old, and I really enjoy building and collecting Lego Star Wars. I was born in Southern California, so I have a bit of a tan. That day, I just finished getting my passport renewed in the U.S. Embassy. I also had to go to the bus station in Hage, Prague 11, because I was meeting my aunt and her 2 kids who were twins. I still had 45 minutes to get to the bus station, so I decided to get myself the twins and my neighbor/friend some gifts. The nearest toy store is in Chodov, which was great because Chodov has a metro station, C-Line, which Hage also had. In the toy store, I was relieved that they still had the Lego I wanted and quickly grabbed it off the shelf and started picking out gifts for the twins. After I paid for the Lego and left the store, a young boy with a Brawl Stars t-shirt comes up to me and asks, "Sir, can I ask where you got that spaceship?" Me: "Sure, it's just a couple stores down in Bambule. If you know where it is, can you give the spaceship to me and you could just go and get a new one? Sorry to let you down, but I'm in a hurry and I used my own money for this, so I can't give it to you." The kid then ran in a different direction than the one I showed him to Bambule. 2 minutes later, I saw the kid and his entitled mother storming towards me. "Sorry to bother you, but you told my angel that he can't have the spaceship." "Yes, I did because..." She cuts me off. "Because what?" "Because you don't want to contribute to society." "No. I use my own money that I work hard for from being an instructor on a military camp. If you want your child to get the Starfighter, then buy it yourself. You are too old to be buying these toys." "Ma'am, there is no age limit on any Lego. The age number on the box is only for skill level." "No, you're just a gypsy N-word." "Yes, she actually said that. Pervert who steals for a living. You probably cheat on your girlfriend all the time." Funny thing being, I don't have a girlfriend, nor would I cheat on one. At this point, I really wanted to punch this female dog, but I managed to suppress my anger. "Ma'am, what part of I bought this with my own money do you not understand? What you're doing is illegal and you can get arrested." "Really? Because this is a capitalist country and not communist. It hasn't been that way for 22 years. The lady stormed off. I was just about to leave the mall until a security guard shouted at me. I turn around and see a man in black uniform with, you guessed it, the entitled mother and her kid, who was crying. The security guard came up to me and asked, "This woman says that you stole her Lego and punched a little child while getting away. Is that true?" I looked at the child and saw his left cheek is red. "Sir, if you want proof that I didn't steal the Lego, I'll show you the receipt." I start to take my wallet out of my pocket and show it to the security guard, when all of a sudden, "Hey, that's my wallet." I almost burst into laughter, but I hold it in and say, "Me. Oh really, if it's your wallet? Then how did the citizenship card magically turn from your card to mine? Why do I have my name on the library card? Why does the health insurance card have my name? But you still hit my child." At this point, the security guard started to suspect that the woman was lying and that she might have even hit her own child to get the guard on her side. The security guard got down to the kid's level and asked, "Who hit you?" The smirk on the entitled mother's face grew, as she thought she won. The kid looked at me, but then pointed at the entitled mother. I can already imagine what went through her brain when he pointed at her. Entitled mother's brain, halo voice over, betrayal. The entitled mother then took the kid away from the scene and I went on to the metro. Luckily, she was banned from coming back to the mall. Story 3. I've encountered a few entitled parents before, but nothing like an entitled military spouse. I keep hearing horror stories about, well, I finally encountered one. Cast: me, entitled kid, entitled mother, base police 1, and base police 2. I was in the middle of my lunch at the food court at the exchange. Think Walmart on a military base. On base after buying some stuff when some random kid approached me. He looked to be about 6-7 years old. Entitled kid: "Hey, can I see your airsoft gun?" Pointing at the cheapo Crosman air rifle I had beside me. Me: "Huh? Ooh. Sure." I set it on the table beside my tray. He looks at it for a few seconds. "Wow, can I have it?" "Ooh, sorry, but no. This is mine." I put it away immediately. He starts stomping around. "But I want it." "Sorry, but I said no. It's not a toy. Besides, I don't think you're old enough to own one." He left after ignoring him wailing around for a minute or so. Shortly after, 2 Air Force Base police arrived at the food court to have lunch. They got food from Panda Express and sat at a table in the middle of the food court about 2 tables out in front of me. This will be important later. Another few minutes passed, and I finished my lunch. I got up to throw my trash away. As soon as I got back to my table to pick up my stuff and leave, it happened. A wild Karen approached with the entitled Karen in tow behind her. She looked exactly how military wives were described in the stories, grossly overweight, with her crotch goblin in tow, and the "may I speak to your manager" hairstyle. "Me, can I help you?" The entitled kid cried. "That's him." Upon seeing the kid in tow behind the mother, I knew it wasn't going to be good, so I rolled my eyes and sighed on instinct. Entitled mother, "My son wants your airsoft gun. Can you give it to him?" Me, "As I told your son earlier, no. This is mine." "You're so selfish. You don't even need it." "And? I paid for it. It's mine. If he really wants one, you can buy him one. They still have a few more inside." "No, I checked, and they don't have any more of that. Give it to him now." "No. I'm not in the mood for this. I'm out of here." I tried to walk out the door towards the 2 base police to get out of there, but the entitled mother got in front of me and tried to snatch the box my airsoft rifle was in. I instinctively yanked the box towards me and kicked her in the gut simultaneously, which sent her flying about 5 feet back. I maintained grip on the box, by the way. As soon as she hit the ground, she shrieked like a banshee. The entitled kid started crying even harder, and the 2 base police who saw everything got up and ran towards us. Base Police 1, in a loud booming voice, "What is going on here?" The entitled mother, still on the ground shrieking, "He assaulted me." Me, "She tried to steal my airsoft rifle. It was in self-defense." "Liar, you stole my son's airsoft rifle. I was just trying to get it back." Base Police 2 helps the mother up, but also keeps her back. Base Police 1, "Sir, is this true?" Me, "Of course not. She's lying and I can prove it." Base Police 1 approached me as I pulled out the receipt out of the plastic bag that had the rest of my stuff down before setting them on an empty table. I then took out the debit card I used to pay for my stuff as well as my military ID and handed them all to the base police. He looks at my receipt, sees my name on the receipt, looks at both my debit card and military ID and hands it back to me. I put the receipt back in the plastic bag and my debit card and military ID back in my wallet. Base Police 1, "Yep, this receipt has the correct name on it." Me, "Thank you. I apologize for having to deal with this. Have a good rest of your day." "It's okay. You have a good rest of your day as well." Base Police 1 tells Base Police 2 to turn the entitled mother around. Once she was facing the other way, Base Police 1 takes out his cuffs to get ready to cuff her. Then he tells Base Police 2 to start giving her verbal commands so they can cuff her. As soon as the entitled mother realizes she's being detained, she starts flailing around and screaming, "You can't do this to me. My husband is a captain. I will have you both in trouble. You hear me?" Base Police 1 responds with, "Ma'am, we saw everything that happened between you and this gentleman." Once they have her in cuffs, they take her and the entitled kid away to wherever they need to go. I left immediately after that, only to come back an hour later, since the rifle case I bought for a separate rifle was a tad too small, and the airsoft rifle was not what I was expecting it after doing a few test shots at home. Story 4. Hey, so, I'm in the military. I have been stationed in quite a few different places around the US and the world. Because of that, I have a cell phone number that is out of the area, and use it for just about everything. Between that and the occasional work-issued phone, I've never felt the need to have a dedicated landline. However, with my most recent residence, the company I get my internet and cable through had a plan set up where every service came individually, or you could get a bundled box that had cable, internet, and phone. However, there was no cable internet-only option. Since the phone included bundle was cheaper than a la carte, I said hell with it, might as well. I even went ahead and got a cheapo phone and plugged it in. That was my first mistake. Apparently, this phone number was one number different from a local Domino's pizza place. Fortunately, I didn't have the company put my number on the commercial instead of their own problem we often see here. But I did have one person who managed to call me a few times. Yes, more than once, instead of calling the pizza place. I can only guess that she had tried to program it into a contact entry and only ever went back to the contact each time rather than dialing it outright. The first time the phone rang, I, of course, picked it up, curious as to who would be trying to call me on a number I hadn't actually given to anyone. That was my second mistake. The conversation should have been simple. Sorry, you have the wrong number. Oh, my bad. Click. Were it so easy. Given that I'm here now, posting this story, we all know that's not what happened. Call 1. Me. Hello? Karen. That's no way to answer the phone for a restaurant. You should identify yourself and your company when you pick up. But this isn't a restaurant. This is my home line. Don't lie to me. Now take my order. It's... Click. I hung up. Immediately, she called back. Call 2. Me. Hello? Karen. Still with this? What's wrong with you? Oh, really now? She opened the door of jerk behavior, so I'm more than happy to walk through it. Mentally cracking my thought knuckles, I engaged my finer jerk side. Affecting a heavy twang, I said, Hank's Roadkill Cafe, you kill it, we grill it. This is Hank Jr. speaking. How may I help you? Karen. A few seconds of silence. Then, what on earth are you talking about? I just want to order some pizza. That's gonna be a bit of an issue, hun, seeing as how they ain't no pizzers runnin' across the road for you to hit. How we gon' grill up a dead pizzer when they ain't no such thing? This is extremely unprofessional. Let me speak to your manager. Hank. Hey Hank, get over here. Then I hung up, thinking that would be the end of it. Surely no one would think that that performance was a valid phone number for a pizza place. That was my third mistake. About 5 minutes later, she called back. Recognizing the number, I geared up for jerk round 2. Call 3. Me. Alfredo's Pizza Cafe, this is Mike. How may I help you? Karen. Wait, I thought this was Domino's. No, this location used to be a Domino's, but it was bought by Alfredo. Our prices are a bit more expensive, but what would you rather have? A medium amount of good pizza, or all you can eat of pretty good pizza? What can I say? I'm a die-hard The Office fan. Karen. I'll tell you what I want to order. Stop trying to upsell me on things I don't need. She proceeded to launch into a rather lengthy delivery order with more than a few details, none of which I wrote down as I gave ahas and gotchas throughout. Okay, I've rung all that up, and fortunately for you, we're running a special, half off for any order up to 8 pizzas. The total comes out to $63.50. What? That's so much more expensive than Domino's would charge. And that's half off. Yes, ma'am. But it's the best pizza in the city according to the Scranton Times. Whatever, just get it here as soon as possible, she yelled her address at me, then hung up without even letting me try to confirm. 2 hours later, the number pops up on the phone. I mentally prepared myself for yet another round in the ring with this mental lightweight. Call 4. Me. Alfredo's Pizza Cafe, this is... Karen, sounding more like a banshee crossed with a diesel engine, as she was clearly a lifelong smoker doing her best to yell, Where is my pizza? Oh, dear, I'm sorry, our delivery driver wasn't able to make it out to you. While he was out on the run delivering an order at another address, he was held hostage by a strange group of people in a small business park who were having an after-hours office party. By the time he was let out and got back to his car, your pizza was cold, and he was terribly traumatized, so we gave him the rest of the night off. Also, this was never a restaurant number, like I said from the very start. What do you mean this isn't a restaurant? You said you were and took my order. Me. Yeah, about that. I lied. I cackled with fake maniacal laughter, which only served to enrage her more. She emitted incomprehensible nonsense, punctuated by the word manager at least a couple times. "Lady, listen, this isn't a pizza place, it's a home number, and I'm done with you." I hung up and disconnected the phone from the box. The cable system would pop up a notice any time someone called the line if you were watching TV with a number that was calling, and I got at least a dozen more calls from her that night, plus 2 more the following night. After that, it stopped. Fast forward 2 weeks. My wife and I were in the mood for some pizza, so I suggested picking up from that Domino's. In the intervening weeks, I had done some searching online and found the Domino's with the 1 number difference that was the partial cause of that fun-filled evening, and it seemed like as good a candidate as any to get our dinner for the night. I called the order in as I left work, and stopped by to pick it up on my way home. As I was at the register waiting for it to finish in the oven, I recounted the story of what had happened to the cashier. She was floored. The look on her face was priceless. She explained to me that Karen had come into their location like a bat out of hell, looking to cause all sorts of trouble, thinking they were the ones who had done this to her. She refused to listen to anyone explain that they had no idea what she was talking about, not even the manager, and eventually had to be removed from the location by cops and was served with a trespass order. Fortunately, I have not received any subsequent calls from Karen. All told, it was well worth the time I spent on the phone with her. Story 5. So, after being inspired by reading some Reddit stories, I decided to come here, make an account, and share a story. To preface a little, a few years ago, I was in the US Army where I did 3 deployments overseas. While on mid-tour leave, you would fly in and out of the US from a normal airport. You would walk in, go to your gate at the airport that's closest to you, fly to the airport in Atlanta, and then fly out from there with a few stops overseas, switching planes and all that until you eventually get back to Kuwait where the staging area was, and take a military flight to a base with an airstrip close to you, and then normally travel by helicopter to an even smaller base close to you and stay there until a convoy could come collect you. Unless you were one of the lucky people deployed to one of the nice, large, relatively comfortable bases. It was not uncommon that while coming home in Atlanta, people would be there to greet and cheer on returning soldiers as they exited the airport. I got to Adel a few hours early, so I had some time to kill. I decided to check it out and stand with those greeting those coming home on leave. Here I am in uniform, greeting returning soldiers with random people, some of which do this because they are what's known as Gold Star families, others because they are just patriotic or have a kid or brother serving. There are a number of groups who organize these things. Gold Star families. Gold Star families are families who had a direct relative like a son or daughter who died while serving. They generally get the utmost respect from soldiers and anyone around who even knows they are, though it's not like they generally flaunt it. Some will wear a little pin when attending these events. It has a gold border with a gold star in the middle and a purple background. Their car may also have a special license plate depending on the state stating this that they got from the vehicle registry. So I am standing there and shaking the hands of returning troops, and I notice that the lady next to me has a small girl and is welcoming the troops, and it looks like she is almost about to cry. I also happen to notice the gold star pin that's pinned to her jacket. The little girl also keeps looking up at me standing there as well. I can see her just out of the corner of my eye. One of the times I look down and smile at her. At this point in my life, I had no kids of my own or anything, but I have always liked kids. Since there was a lull in the crowd for the moment, I crouched down and asked her what her name was. Let's call her Lily. She had to be about 7 or so. She said she liked my patch. The patch she was referring to was the unit patch for the 101st Airborne. I had one on each side. If you're not familiar with a uniform, on the right shoulder is the flag, and if you have deployed, a unit patch under that, and on the left is your current unit patch. The combat patch may not always match the unit patch, even though mine did. The combat patch does not need to be worn all the time, though the unit patch does. This fact will come into play soon. Lily was really nice and cute. I started talking to her mother as well, and it turns out her husband, Lily's father, was in the 101st as well, and was killed in action about a year and a half before. I didn't know him, but I know the brigade she mentioned. I was deployed at the same time and heard about the incident he was involved in, but I didn't know any details regarding it. The division is pretty big and spread out when deployed after all. I don't remember the exact conversation, but it was mostly about her husband and all that. After a bit, it was getting time for me to get going. I pulled off my combat patch and handed it to Lily with a smile, saying something that I likely thought sounded inspirational or something at the time. She smiled from ear to ear and happily accepted it, knowing full well it came directly from a soldier in the same group as Daddy. I started to walk away after a wave, and I felt a tug at the back of my jacket. I turned thinking it was Lily. But it was actually another kid that is probably about 5 or so. Give or take. Give me, he tells me. Excuse me. Points to Patch. Sorry, buddy, I don't have any more to give out. His mom then said, don't lie to my son. I see you have one right on your shoulder. You can give him that. I'm sure you have more somewhere. Saying it almost as if an entitled valley girl would say it. This triggers her entitled kid, and he starts throwing a huge tantrum. Apparently, he really didn't like not getting what he wanted immediately, or he was shown at an early age that crying and yelling would get him what he wanted. I would say what the kid was yelling, but I don't think anyone would have understood it when they heard it. It's like the kid became possessed and was speaking in tongues. I would not have been surprised to see pea soup vomit spewing out like the scene from The Exorcist at that point. I'm sorry, ma'am, I cannot take this one off. She cut me off. I don't see what the big deal is. I pay taxes, and that pays you, so you work for me anyway, and my taxes paid for that patch. Ma'am, I also pay taxes. As a note here, this was just the first time I encountered one of those I pay taxes and you get paid for by taxes, so you work for me types of people. I had no idea people like this even existed, and this was far from the last time in my life I would have to deal with people like this either. You work for me. How dare you deny a child this? What kind of soldier are you? The rant continues, drawing a crowd. Inside, I'm shocked, but on the outside, I keep a calm and collected attitude. By this point, she had attracted a crowd. I didn't have the time or energy for this. I had to get to my gate and mentally had to deal with the fact that within a week, someone would likely be trying to kill me again. Ma'am, I'm sorry, but the answer is no. Now I have to go. I turn and start walking. Karen then grabs me from behind on the throat, hand around neck, so fingers grabbing onto my actual throat. I'm confident she meant to grab my shoulder, but had poor hand-eye coordination. Instinctively, I turn quickly and forcibly push her hand away with my forearm. The goal was not to hit or hurt her, but quickly remove her hand from my throat. Nothing more, nothing less. Luckily for both of us, her hand slipped right off, but not before leaving some fingernail scratches on my neck. You know those insurance fraud videos you see on YouTube where the person unconvincingly jumps in front of a stopped car as though they were hit, landing on the hood and rolling off? It was like that. She stumbled down and started with the most fake cry ever, yelling about how I threw her on the ground. I seriously don't have time for this. As soon as it happened, I backed away, hands raised a bit. I wanted it to be seen for sure, since she was yelling that I threw her on the ground, that I was no threat at this point. Karen then starts screaming, saying I broke her perfectly fine leg, and that she was going to sue me, and of course that phrase we all know and love. Do you know who I am? I didn't engage at all from that point on. An airport officer was already walking up and saw the entire thing. She looked at me and then the woman on the ground and sighed audibly. She called on her radio, and an emergency medical technicians rolled up a minute later. I'm sure the officer knew Karen didn't need one, but I am assuming it's some form of protocol. The entire time she's asking me step by step what happened. I tell her all the details, the same as a couple bystanders and a few other soldiers around did as well, confirming my side of the story. When done, I stand off to the side and wait. Being a smoker, and this before the days of e-cigs, I was getting antsy. I was hoping to stop at the smoking lounge before heading to the gate. which back then they had at Adel, though I have no idea if they do anymore, but no time for that at this point. 15 minutes and I would miss boarding. I was screwed. If you miss your flight for basically any reason, you're looking at, in the least, a demotion. I make a very quick call to my rear detachment, quickly fill them in on what has gone down and hang up. Sure, I am going to be screwed. Imps check her out, and she is totally fine. The officer asks if I want to press charges. At this point my neck is sore, but I have no idea I have even been scratched. I say something along the lines of, "No damage done, so no need," to which she pulls out a small makeup mirror and shows that I have some decent scratches on my neck and a little bit of blood on the collar of my uniform. I'm still not worried about it though. A couple days, and that will all be gone. I let her know that I don't intend to press charges or anything. After hearing the woman shrieking like a banshee constantly, the officer turns and yells for her to shut up. In an amazing authoritative tone, she directs the woman to leave the airport immediately, shutting her down every time the woman tries to argue back. The cop ends with, "You can either leave or you will be arrested, charged with assault." Even though I said no, Karen didn't know that, and banned from the airport. Luckily Karen gets the hint and leaves, dragging her poorly taught child with her. Her being arrested would have screwed me over big time in further delays, so I'm glad she just left. Now, nice as if nothing happened, the officer walks up and asks to see my ticket. Seeing I am about to miss my flight at this point, as this whole thing was a good 50-minute long ordeal, she makes a call for a minute on her radio and tells me to follow her. We go through a service door and through all these back hallways, and even the luggage loading and sorting area, which if I had time would have been awesome to look over, as I kinda geek out about that kinda stuff. Don't judge me, and pop out a door right by my gate. The officer thanked me for my service, and I went to the gate. Turns out she called the security to hold the plane for me because I was told they were supposed to shut the gate 5 minutes ago upon walking up to the gate. If I had not gone through all the back ways and bypassed security too, I would have easily been 15 to 20 minutes late and missed the flight. I called the rear detachment before takeoff, and they logged it. My command in theater already knew the basics by the time I got back to base. My first sergeant was cool, so we joked about it for a bit, and that was the end of it. A week later I got called to my battalion commander's office. I am thinking I am screwed because it had to be about the incident. Turns out that the widow whose kid I gave my patch to was friends with his family. He was in that brigade when it happened. The guy had served under my commander to some degree in the same battalion, so we had a nice long chat about him, the deployment and life in a relaxed state. Nothing formal, no sirs, standing at attention or anything. Just two soldiers talking. It's a small world, it turns out. He showed me some pictures of them together and shared stories about some of the things they did. From mission planning, hiking back home, jokes and general fooling around, all soldiers of pretty much any rank do to pastime while deployed, like dressing up as Santa on Christmas and digging through countless boxes of MREs, just to take the candy out and hand one to each of the lower enlisted. This was back in 23, so there were no stores on pretty much any of the bases, or apparently walking around wearing an adult diaper and a plastic toy bow in the command center on Valentine's Day, to sitting at the bar after the deployment with all the command unit soldiers and toasting their fallen brother.